We are here to support their team in what has to come off. When it becomes ACLS, then we kind of take over to manage the airway and to start the CPR and things like that. But by and large, it's going to be their show. And so we're going to be running and helping them. So I'll turn it over to Steve to run us through it all.
Hey, this has been great. We've been doing this a long time. I know we did it 20 years ago when I worked here before. Last year was great. We ended up getting all 3 shifts covered. There's a new protocol that came out August 5th of last year, talking about full equipment removal for a pre-hospital care spine injured athlete. Prior to that, it was remove the face mask only. Okay, and I was on board with that. I feel like you could keep inline immobilization and remove equipment in the hospital after preliminary x-rays, right? There ends up being some issues. I've had issues a couple times going to emergency room, hospital, and then having a nurse or EMTs not knowing how to get rid of a helmet, cheek pads, shoulder pads. So my organization, the NATA, came out with a recommended statement, August 5th of last year, that full equipment removal is acceptable and recommended, not required. Some NFL teams, I went to some conferences this summer, some NFL teams are not on board with the full equipment removal yet because they don't want to change, they haven't practiced it. They're just a little nervous about a new protocol. I feel good about adopting it right away because I've been doing in-service training like this for 20 years with EMS crews here in Provo, in Texas, and we would always take it that next step after removing the face mask. We would always show the video and say, okay, here's what you do when you get to the hospital. This is how you remove that equipment. So I've been practicing that part of it more in a hospital setting. Now it's been recommended that we take it off on site. So just so we're on the same page, I don't know if every college in Utah or every high school is removing full equipment, but it is acceptable for us to do that now. So if you see that, and before every game, I'm going to communicate with the visiting team and say, we've adopted the new protocols, we're removing full equipment, what are you guys doing? Last year, it was about 50-50. Some teams were like, yep, we're doing like you, we're moving equipment, removing equipment on the field, just like you guys are. Others are, no, we're just doing face mask only. So whatever that visiting team wants, we'll let them make that call for their player. We'll be removing our equipment. We did have that situation last year, August 11th, after this new protocol came out, August 5th. So one of our players, the first day of full contact practice, 6'7", 230-pound guy, had just switched from tight end, Dean brought this up yesterday, just switched from tight end to an outside linebacker. And he had been on a mission, had 2 shoulder surgeries. So he missed his freshman year due to shoulder surgery, mission, another shoulder. So he really hadn't played football for 4 years, and he had switched from a tight end to a linebacker. So first day in pads, he comes downhill, drops his head, which we try to we teach, don't axial load. So we teach, hit with your head up, see what you hit. So if there's a blow at the head, which we don't want, we want the head to the side, tackle with the shoulder, lift, more of a rugby style tackle, right? Our coaches are teaching that now. But if there is head-to-head contact, your head is up at the numbers, you're seeing what you hit, tackling with the shoulder. Well, he came downhill, did exactly what we teach not to do. He came in and dropped, axial loaded. So when you axial load, all that force goes into the spine rather than into extension or absorbed with neck muscles and all that. So he axial loaded, he came downhill, running back was coming, he came from the outside, dropped, axial loaded, rotated, went posturing position, went to the ground, was fully conscious, was complaining about neck pain, bilateral upper extremity, numbness and tingling, a little bit of tingling in the feet and legs. So my protocol has always been, anytime I get 2 extremities involved or severe neck pain and unilateral, I'm going to spine board him. So he did have neck pain. As I was palpating the spinous process, I've seen, wanted to make sure I palpated 3 or 4 times. I felt like there was a void there. Had bilateral upper extremity numbness, weakness. He did have motor function in his hands, did have motor function in his feet. Sensation was diminished, but the bilateral numbness and tingling, we activated EMS right away. We decided we're going to spine board. All my crew brought the gear out. We immobilized, removed equipment, got him on the board, put the C-collar on him, strapped him in, put him on our gator. That's another part of our protocol. If it's on the practice field or the game field, we're going to load him on our gator, and then we're going to drive. And like we met the ambulance right as we packaged our guy up last year, just as we were coming out through the gate, basically pulled up to the side road right here where the gate is. We pulled up. Within about 30 seconds, the ambulance was here. Loaded him on the ambulance, got him to the hospital. It was as fast and clean as it could be. And the good thing, what was nice about it, we had just practiced it 3 times with the student trainers and with EMS. It was a really calm situation, very little movement. The athlete felt comfortable, conscious the whole time. And it was the best outcome as we could have had. He ended up having a fractured, dislocated C-spine. He had a C5-6 facet jump dislocation. So C5, dislocated, rotated over the top of C6. And all the neurosurgeons and doctors at the hospital said, they usually see that CT scan, and usually there's paralysis. Usually they're a quad at that level. He said if that would have rotated another millimeter off the other side of that facet, it could have been bad news for that spinal cord. So we were fortunate. He had about 8 hours of surgery. They did anterior and posterior fusion, and he's healthy and walking around and good for life. So the practice paid off. And you guys have always been good. If we're at the head, we kind of always have the rule, if you guys are on the scene first and whoever's at the head is in charge. I respect what you guys do. I know you guys, your protocols have changed. We talked about it yesterday as far as how many people you guys are spine boarding now. But I know that you guys spine board in the past 5 times a day or multiple times in a day. I end up doing it a few times a year maybe. Maybe once or twice in a real setting on a field, 3 or 4 times practicing. I feel comfortable doing it. I'm glad we can all assist each other. But what is good about it is it's not like a power struggle. Whoever's at the head's in charge, and we support each other. It's not like switching authority or something. Like when a doctor comes, give up the head, or when you guys come, give up the head. Right? That's all good? Kind of just keep that in line immobilization to take care of that athlete so there's no spinal movement, right? So what's good about this, I think we'll skip watching the video. Most of you guys seen the video in the past where it talks about removing face mask and log rolling compared to, sometimes they call it the 6-man lift, 8-man plus lift. I like to call it 9-man plus lift because you've got 1 at the head, at least 4 on the side. There's 9, and then I got 1 person on the board sliding it up from the bottom. There's 10. I like another person on top aligning. That's 11. I like having another person that's going to come in from the front and align the head and keep it stable while we're moving equipment. So there's 12. So what good thing about our setting is we're going to have that manpower. We've got 5 on staff and 11 student trainers. Then when you guys come, we've got the manpower. I understand you guys only have maybe 2 people on your ambulance, so you're log rolling most of the time, right? And I like log roll. If we put them right, we can log roll them right under the board and then reposition them. But the lift and slide is probably my go-to. I have no problem log rolling onto the board and then realigning. Usually it seems like you need to realign. Most of our guys are 250 pounds to 350 pounds. We've got we've got a guy coming in that's 6'7", 410, 415. So another thing I educate my students on, and all of us, if you're going to have a guy that big, let's make sure the stronger people are under the hips and torso, and those that aren't quite as strong can be doing the legs or, the arms, getting those in place, and feel confident in what you're doing to lift that person, right? And also, since we're moving full equipment, we need to make sure we're underneath the shoulder pads. Whoever's up on the shoulders and torso, you're inside that shoulder pad and underneath it. You're on the body, not on the pads. We all know that, right? So let me just show some equipment because it changes a little bit every year. Not too many changes this year, but there's a lot of different face mask attachments, right? This is a brand new helmet last year. They put this little compression thing in, help shear forces of concussion. The helmets are now a little bit more, see how it's a little more elongated than round-ish? Okay, so that's trying to shear that blow, reduce contact time of helmet to helmet, and shear the blow away for concussions, right? This one has quick release, so we have different tools for different clips. You can see this is just a quick button. I push that button right there. I don't have to unscrew anything. I push that, and that'll pop right off. Okay? Quick release. We hope in the near future they just do all of them like this. So nice. But you notice there's nothing on top here. There's nothing on top like there is these little bit older ones. So we can do quick release on both of these. I still want to get rid of the face mask first, just in case there's an airway compromise. And plus, if I'm removing the helmet, I never want to spread the helmet. If I spread the helmet, what happens anterior posterior? That would flatten out and put pressure. So I'm not going to spread. So I'm just going to pull maybe a little bit of rotation. So I don't want that face mask, if it's a long one, catching the chin or anything as I'm removing the helmet. So we're still going to get rid of the face mask and then do shoulder pad helmet. The protocol has always been, if you remove the shoulder pads for any reason or the helmet for any reason, they both come off. Because you don't want that, flexion or extension if you remove the helmet versus the shoulder pad. They've always come off as a unit. If one comes off, they both come off. So that's still true. You can see these chin straps, there are no buttons and snaps on these, so we're cutting these. For today, we'll just kind of pretend, cut, we'll kind of get it up out of the way. We're not going to damage equipment, but that's one thing, you got to know your equipment, right? Because it does change. And look at these ear pads. They're no longer the old school ear pad. This is still a little bit newer. Hold this for me, Matt. Like that one, still it's free, it's not connected. You look at this one, it's all the way up inside there. It's going to be pretty hard for me to remove that on his head. In the past, we do like to remove these, come in and pop those out just to get that helmet off a little easier. But this, I've done it in practice with someone on it, but you have to get it off, then kind of wiggle up here and wiggle it out of there. We're trying to minimize movement. So if we can get the helmet off without removing these on these newer style, we will. I think we can. We do have needles in here we have some 18 gauge needles in our little kit to remove equipment where we'll go in and remove some of the air pressure so we can decrease that if we need to, just get that helmet off without that tight pressure around the head. So we've got different tools. There are cutting tools that we'll use. This old school, this is one of the first ones that came out of Trainer's Angel. And the design of this one was to go around and cut it off here, or you could cut it this way. You could come across here, get it across there, and have that gap for the bar, cut there. But if that didn't work, then you could still slice kind of the top. With this extra bar here, it's hard to get up in there, right? So they came out, this will work. You might have to do a couple different angles. Then they came out with the Trainer's Angel that will cut. So with this one, you basically would cut on this side of the face mask, cut that loop strap off, cut the loop strap off here, cut it off here. It's a little bit longer, and we just cut it off, right? It works pretty nice on this top one. A little more difficult with bars around here. So we will have these available to cut our clips off, but our number one, first choice, go-to is going to be just a regular old school screwdriver, either power or manual. Some people went away from that for a while because you can get old clips that are maybe rusted or stripped out, right? So these won't even work for this, but if we were on this one using a screwdriver and it was rusted out or stripped, I would then cut. But my first attempt is going to be just a screwdriver, okay? Because there's less movement, it's nice and clean, they come out real easy if there's no stripping or rusting, okay? So first we're going to go screwdriver. If that's a delay, we're going to cut. This other system right here, this other clip is a quick release. It's just a quarter turn. Quarter turn, boom. Why do they do that there and not there? I don't know. Maybe because next year they'll do it so they can sell new helmets next year? I don't know. But you think they would go, so that's super easy. Quick release, boom. So I would have to either screwdriver this or cut these. Okay? So I think that's one main reason why my NATA said just remove the equipment on the field. You guys know the equipment, you work with it, it changes yearly. You guys are spine boarding every day. We're dealing with a lot of this equipment every day. So I think that's why it was just get the equipment off. It actually, to me, simplifies everything. So you don't have to get them all strapped in a spine board, then remove all that stuff once you get to the hospital. When you remove the equipment on the field and put a seat collar on them, then you can go straight to CT or straight to X-ray or straight to MRI, and it's less of a hassle, probably faster just to get it off originally than maybe a two-step process. Face mask only on the field, remove all the equipment in the hospital, where you have to unstrap them and unboard them, maybe to get that equipment off, okay? It makes sense to me and simplifies. You guys good with that? This was a new development last year. You know, back in our days when we were playing, what did we have here? Just old laces, right? We could untie them, whatever. We could cut them easy. Now there's hardly laces anywhere anymore. So if we need access to the chest, we're going to cut. When our protocol, we're always going to cut away from the face, away from vital organs. So we're going to try to always cut jerseys and all our equipment down and away rather than up toward a face. So we would cut jersey down and away, middle, we'd cut jersey down the arms, then we'd cut shoulder pads here, open up. And back here, we've got some posterior plates. We can sometimes unclip them. We can cut here. We're not going to be cutting through here, but we'd probably just leave all that there, open up the front, and be able to slide it up the top. Everything's going to slide anterior. Everything's going to come out the top. It's not going to come out the sides. We're not trying to cut it in half and go out each side. We're going to remove everything and come out the top. This was just developed last year, where they put a little rip cord right here. So if you cut that, now it releases. It releases the front strap. So you can just cut here instead of here. And I haven't actually cut one yet, but that looks like a pretty tough cut. Might have to use a scalpel. Well, they're developing some new equipment and technology every year where, cut that and it's a quick release where I can access, split the shoulder pads and get rid of them pretty quick. Okay? So that's a new thing. In real life, we would cut all this stuff, right? We would cut. For practice, we're just we'll undo instead of, and we're not on a speed clock today. We're gonna practice, we're gonna talk through it. I did take a course a few years ago that's called 2 minutes or less. That kind of teaches you basically, do your C-spine evaluation, cranial nerves, and then do sensory and motor on your extremities. Spine board them, try to get it all packaged up in 2 minutes or less. As fast as you can tape an ankle, get them spine boarded, but it's not a rush, right? We're not trying to, no rush. We're just trying to keep them calm, immobile, neutral spine. Couple things that come up every year. I've talked to multiple doctors, neurosurgeons, spinal surgeons about traction versus no traction, right? What do you do if you get a block or stick? There was some proponents for traction for a while, but the thing with traction, if you apply traction, that 20, 30 pounds of traction, I've been taught once you apply traction, you got to keep it, maintain it at that same amount of pressure once you get it on until basically they evaluate and x-ray and do whatever. It's pretty hard to do that realistically on a gator, in an ambulance, keep that even traction. So we're not encouraging. We're not teaching to apply traction. And then if someone's, prone and all sideways, we're teaching, as you log roll into that supine position, usually the spine, the neck will reduce or line up in neutral position. But if you get a block or a catch or a stick, we're not trying to force through that. Dean was saying, he was saying that one the other, was it BYU or Provo High or Timpview?
Yeah, the Provo High basketball game.
Yeah.
Dan's not here. Tom's on the call.
Yeah, we had a kid that had a stick, but he had pretty much similar like your player talking last year. When the surgeons and everybody saw the x-ray, they're like, wow, this kid's not dead, he's paralyzed. And he did, we went to realign, and he said, no. So we just immobilized his position.
So he was a little off to the side, and that's when, if they're saying, no, or don't move me, or yeah, we're going to honor that. We're not trying to move anything that doesn't need to be moved. We're trying to mobilize in a neutral spine. I always educate my students, life always comes over paralysis. If you need to get an open airway, gaining access to an airway is always going to be number one. If you need to align and get your head tilt, chin lift, and open an airway, you're going to have to do that. I'm sure you guys have techniques to intubate and get airways when it's not maybe perfectly aligned, I'm sure, but that's the, so we're not forcing through anything as we naturally align that spine. You can leave it as it is, okay? So go ahead and lay down however you like, and we can. Okay, you guys want conscious, unconscious, feedback from this guy? No feedback?
No feedback.
So he's unconscious? He's unconscious and he's breathing. Yeah. Okay. So we'll make it easy, unconscious and breathing. So normally I'll come on the scene if I've got unconscious athlete, if I can check that right away. Hello, can you hear me? So unconscious athlete, I'm going to always assume head and neck injury. So I'm going to give our signal. That means I need spine board, EMS crew to assist on the field, bring spine board, helmet removal. So all my students will be in action, bringing all the gear. So get all the gear coming. I'm going to come on and get alignment here. Let's go ahead, Matt, check sensory motor. We got unconscious, so we wouldn't have to worry about that. Just go ahead and line the arms to the side. I'm going to keep them immobile here. Go ahead and get the face mask going.
Close your eyes. You're unconscious.
You're unconscious?
Yes, sir.
So I would have Chris right here undo the shoulder pads, cut everything. Jersey would be cut free. Shoulder pads cut free. We cut the arms. Everything would be good. Is that our quarter turn? I'd probably use straight slot. Use a straight slot on that quarter turn. It looks like it's free.
It's free.
Just open it. Just pull it. Just pull it. There we go. So good. Now we would cut this off. We'd cut our chin strap, but just go ahead and unsnap. Let's go ahead and get the tongue depressors. Let's pop those off. Or a screwdriver's good. Maybe just rotate as you're in there. They have a little give to them.
Yeah.
Screwdriver's good. A little more rigidity. Try to pull those out. Okay, is Brett available or we got someone else?
Brett, use you.
Someone else can do it.
Coming.
Okay, so we're pretty much ready to get the equipment off.
Sorry.
Okay.
Let me come from this side.
So I need 2 people on each side. Make sure your hands are placed under the shoulder pads. Brett's going to come in from the front, keep immobilization under the equipment. We're only going to lift about 2 inches.
This is normally cut, so
Yeah, it'll be cut.
it's wide open.
We're just going to lift torso 2 inches on 3. We're going to lift on 3. Everybody ready?
Ready?
1, 2, 3. So we're going to come right out the front. This would be easier because it'd be cut. I'm going to come back in, down on 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Okay. Now we're going to lift and slide the board. Everybody get up underneath. So right now, in this position, we're going to put a seat collar on him. We've got the seat collar. Let me have one of the EMTs put a seat collar on.
But you also want to make sure that you've got all the way up. When it comes up, make sure you kind of probably do it on the field because I'll be here. It'll depend on if I stay down
Good.
left or not. Ready?
Good.
How you feeling, buddy?
He's
These
still
are
on,
not made to be. Oh,
he's still unconscious.
he's staring at me.
Okay. Okay, everybody, we're gonna lift on 3. We're gonna slide the board up and position board. Lift on 3. 1, 2, 3. Down on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're gonna bring our bolsters in. Let's get the spider straps placed. Let's get our tape going over the top. Yesterday we talked about going under the chin rather than over the chin.
Hey, wait, we're upside down. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, stiff.
I think we're gonna make some Velcro things we can use.
Oh, you got the other one?
Yep, I got the other one going.
That's good. Make sure you got plenty of length right there on that tape. Okay, so we're gonna have Rachel's gonna be in charge. We're gonna bring the gator and we're gonna bring it to the feet. We're gonna lift and they would slide them right on the gator. So I'm not having to go backwards. We're gonna slide from the feet right into our gator. So we could practice lifting. Okay, everyone get in a good lift position. Everybody ready? We're gonna lift on 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Okay, then we'd walk, slide on the gator. And then we're gonna lock in the board to the gator as well. Okay.
He's on the gator.
So down on 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom.
Boom.
So that's good. Don't go too crazy because we're pretending we're cutting. So this one's going to be not a non-breather. So the pros are going to let us show us what's up.
I don't know about that.
We'll fill in and assist and have the gear and stuff. One thing, so my students, one thing we talked about yesterday, we had one like this. If he's laying that way, what way am I going to log roll? I'm not going to go to my left up and over that face mask, right? So, and I'm not going to just come in here. Well, for this one, it's crisscross. I'm going to come in like this, so as we go, it lines up, right? I wouldn't come in this way. I would definitely come this way. So as I cross, I'm neutral, and I'm never rolling over a face mask. And if we have shoulder pads involved, we're going to put arms down to the side. If there's no shoulder pads, arm is going to come up to help assist in that roll. Okay, we all kind of talked about that yesterday.
Okay.
Go for it.
You're supposed to be not breathing.
Stop breathing, but stop breathing.
Let's see how fast we can do this, non-breather.
Breathing, check the pulse.
Are we planning on not
Yeah, let's get some guys down here. We're going to log roll them.
Probably we're gonna try without it. We'll probably just remove air. I'm not gonna dig way up in there.
Because I mean, you can move it, but it's way back.
I know.
Okay, I'm gonna count on 3. 1, 2, 3, roll.
Be in charge of the board.
Perfect. Okay, let's get your guys in. Let's get the face piece removed. I'm gonna cut those.
You be in charge of the board.
I mean, isn't it more important to just get this off immediately instead of
I want to get this off so we can get a BBM going when we get everything else ready to go. Right now, I'm going to be assessing an airway, seeing if we can get it open just by moving, getting his jaw and opening his airway.
You guys normally just rip it off. Is that what
Well,
you're
that's what
saying?
we
She would. She would just. Kelly would. Superwoman.
did is we just took it off.
Took it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it all depends on how long it's been down.
Yeah.
If we got time, I'd like to just get the face mask off so we can drop it OPA in, we can get an airway open. And see if that'll start breathing. If that doesn't, by getting just the airway open, if he doesn't start breathing, now I can start bagging and we can have somebody then move the mask. Yeah, so chin straps, I saw some tend to cut those.
Yeah.
So we're bagging, you guys know what an OPA is? Yeah, it's kind of looks like a big kind of hook thing. So with this going, you open that up, you put it in upside down, slide it in, kind of twist it as you
So,
go in.
what would be happening if? So you would keep immobilization. So would someone else be? You'd be on the bag. Right. Right.
So yeah, so you'd be setting that up, get an OPA in. If he takes an OPA, let's get the helmet off, and then we'd go more towards like intubations once we get that done. I wouldn't really want to intubate him. We're pulling mass and everything over the top.
So if helmet comes,
Though it's important and we're concerned about the spine, the big picture is they
Big
have
picture's
to breathe.
air. Yeah. Number one.
Because the back
Life and airway over
no good
paralysis.
if he's not breathing anyway. So let's kind of get that mask off. Let's get an OPA in. Let's see if we can get some air in him as quick as we can. Then we can worry about pulling pads.
But I think that's a good point. What Kelly's saying. If it seems to take too long to
Yeah.
get the face mask off, we can get the shoulder pads cut. Because if the helmet's coming off, I would like to go ahead. We can get the helmet off,
Yeah.
immobilize from the front, just get it all off, even without the face mask coming off first. If it's slowing things down, I think common sense and airway has to be first priority.
Yeah. So either way, it's just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So at this point, we've got an airway in. He's bagging, right? So now we got air going in. We're good. He's got pulses still, so we're okay there. We're not starting CPR yet. So let's go ahead and pull. Let's get the pads and the helmet off.
Yeah, these are tough. Did we just go over it last time? With that on?
Yeah. We just loosen it best you can.
Okay.
We're not going to take the cheap pads over this.
Okay.
We're gonna-
I got the C-spine. I don't want to pull that helmet off. You want to lift?
Chris, why don't you come in and immobilize head? Or Matt, you got it? Then Brady's got shoulders. Good. So they're good. They got it.
Okay. For the pads, we lift.
Get up in there. Really good immobilization
Lift
under
on
everything.
3, 1,
Good.
and 3. Helmet. Pads.
Good.
Okay, down on 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, at this point, if he's still not breathing, we're going to go to secured airway. We're going to get an intubation tube placed. Get a few other monitors kind of set up, kind of monitor how well he's breathing, how well our ventilations are doing, make sure everything else is good. And just kind of take it, if he's got good sats and everything, we can kind of slow things down a little bit. And then let's get ready to board him.
And we could have log rolled right onto the board. You can log roll initially onto the board or do it now.
Yeah,
He's not breathing.
Not breathing, we're worrying about all the airway stuff. Yep.
okay, everyone ready? Yep, you're still bagging. Up on 3, 1, 2,
Why don't you align Matt? Align the board on top, Matt.
Okay, let's get a C-spine. One down, 1, 2, 3 down.
Then hand that to your EMT. Let, go ahead and get that collar on.
Strap out. There we go.
Go for it. Get those in there. Start strapping. Try to multitask a little bit. Good job. So you guys B shift? A shift? What was yesterday? C. Good deal. Good turnout. How many of you guys worked games before?
Oh, yeah,
You kind of rotated around? We'll try to always touch base about an hour before the game, 30 minutes to an hour before, and just so we all know who everyone is and where you're at.
Yeah, we still have the lace up and the old round ghetto.
You gonna do full equipment removal?
Some are quick release, some are not. We also have a couple of Zeniths. You guys don't have those anymore. They're a pain, but you just cut as much as possible and do the same type principle on that.
Just get
Yeah,
Saya Pope,
ours are a little bit
have
more.
him lift. Coach.
Yeah, I've got 2 BYU students. And by the time you guys get there and me, and we'll see where we are, but we should have enough for